People who shave or wax private parts for a living, what are your horror stories? Not a beautician, but briefly dated one for a bit. She had a guy come in and get his balls and butthole waxed, claiming it was for a hot date that he had that night. She said that he was kind of weird and a little creepy, but she brushed it off. Her and I get dinner after work and her phone is blowing up. The guy had tracked her down on Facebook and went through and liked every single picture that she had posted in the last 5 years. Dude was immediately banned from every coming back.
Laser tech for 4 years. Lady started her period on the table mid-session. Luckily the area was completely covered for sanitization and I was almost done zapping her. Finished up and sent her on her way. She was mortified. I felt bad for her. Not her fault. Aunt Flo is a nasty cruel beep sometimes. Lol. She gave me a generous tip though. That was nice.
My wife was an esthetician for many years and did full Brazilian waxes. She would routinely tell people that male clients always show up freshly showered and seem to constantly worry that they're not clean enough, as if the person who rips hairs out of your grundle is judging your personal hygiene. The worst, she said, is the women that would show up where you could smell that they'd recently had sex. Either the smell of latex condoms or, in some instances, bodily fluids that are not her own leaking out as they lay there on the table chit-chatting about their day.
Not my story, but our teacher in beauty school. She was waxing someone on her period, not uncommon, just wear a tampon, and she didn't realize that the wax had stuck to her tampon string. When she went to pull the strip, the tampon flew out and was obviously an embarrassing mess. Now we're taught to put an applicator over the string or push it out of the way while laying the strip. Edit, not sure how obviously turned into that monstrosity without my phone fixing it.
Welp, here I go. Not one of those people, but a friend of mine used to do it as a job. One time this man in his 30s came in saying he wanted a wax around his ass and pubes. So my friend trims the hair a little bit shorter, just doing his own thing, and around this man's asshole he lathers on the wax and places on the paper, waits for it to hold and pulls hard, ripping out the fur, and then all of a sudden some unnaturally large holes around 1 millimeter wide and 3 millimeters deep appear and start leaking a white pus. Turns out this man barely wipes his ass and had hundreds of spots there that all popped when he got waxed and started leaking pus and blood everywhere.
Oof. When I worked at a spa, I would be the model for new hires to practice Brazilian waxing. One lady decided to become an esthetician late in life. Even with glasses, she did not have the best eyesight. She eventually swung one of the attachments for facials over me. Essentially just a giant magnifying glass so she could try to tweeze anything she missed. That woman also lifted skin and left bruises. Another woman practicing could not get the wax off. The room was too hot, so the wax wasn't working right. I was spread eagle holding a fan at my ladybits, baby powder flying everywhere. A lot of my coworkers came in to see what was going on. About 8 people got to see my downstairs mix-up that day. They did eventually get the wax off. I know a lot of estheticians and most have stories about being farted on. They usually don't even bat an eye at toilet paper that got left behind. One friend calls it clitty litter.
My buddy's sister got a job doing that. She said she had to watch a video that graphically showed what happened if you beep up waxing a scrotum. Long story short, you can get your nutsack ripped wide open.
Ex and I were in the BDSM community. My ex had found a really good waxer. Friend of a friend asked about the waxing job on display at an event, so the name was given out. The waxer stopped waxing men because the friend of a friend moaned and panted during the waxing and then had an orgasm on her table.
I talked to a beautician friend about this once, so I'll just get the big one or of the way. People who don't wipe properly and lie about it like they did.
So this isn't my story, but my colleague's. We are both dermatology PA. She went to a large cosmetic conference and attended a waxing seminar by a well-known esthetician. She was doing a Brazilian wax on a young man live on stage. When she pulled off the strip of wax, his scrotum tore, and one of his testicles fell out. It was still connected to his body. The esthetician was a total pro and explained that this is a rare, but potential wax complication in guys. So the audience got to see firsthand how to manage this particularly horrific complication. The guy was apparently as cool as a cucumber. You would have to get a Brazilian with a live audience. He was apparently completely fine after getting put back together by medical personnel.
I just got a vasectomy on Friday. The nurse shaving me before the procedure was probably the most terrifying 30 seconds of my life. I felt like I survived a trial from a Saw movie.
If you trim the bushes, the house looks bigger.
STDs, unknown smells, unknown discharge, and a guy who blew his load everywhere while I was waxing his balls. Beauty industry is not glamorous at all.
My mom was an esthetician and she told me of a horror story she had. A woman came in for a Brazilian waxing, a regular of my mom's. My mom said that she must have been dehydrated that day, which can make the skin easier to tear, because when she pulled the strip away, she ripped her lady bits. Blood everywhere. My mom described it as looked like a bowling ball down there. The woman was totally chill and made a joke saying something along the lines of I guess I won't be having sex for a while. It took a while to heal, but she eventually did go back to my mom as a regular again. And made sure she was hydrated.
Not private parts, but in cosmetology school we were broke into groups at one point to learn how to wax. There was this one girl who don't want to get into it. Because of chosen personal difficulties no one wanted to partner with. I felt bad so I let her wax my arm. She didn't take it seriously, only did half my lower arm overlapped areas which can cause burning and severe irritation. Kept laughing like it was hilarious, didn't take the liaison seriously. She got kicked out of class and reprimanded for the harm she could have caused. I was fine for the most part, but I was super red and rashy from all of the overlapping. The worst part was I couldn't shave to match because of how raw my skin was, so I ended up finishing the wax myself.
Not an esthetician or anything like that, but I did once queef during a session and I was mortified. The poor girl didn't even bat an eye and said it was okay, but I was counting down the minutes to be done and go hide in my room for the rest of the day.
I really don't have any horror stories. But I will say this. After keeping my nether regions waxed for well over a decade, once I do forego maintenance, it resembles a cat with a severe case of mange. Which is now my new permanent look.
Some smell so bad you can taste it.
My wax girl told me one of her first waxes was a woman who'd given birth 2 weeks prior. I can't go into details. I won't do that to you.
Oh wow, I have so many. I am a full body waxer and I probably do 15 to 25 Brazilians a day. The amount of women who come in with poop in their butts is astounding. Like it's a regular topic of convo between me and my coworkers. I used to have a male Brazilian client who would always tell me I was hot during his wax and then ask me to leave the room when I was finished so he could get dressed, in private, after I already saw the whole kit and caboodle. And then there would always be a mountain of tissues in the garbage. Not discreet, bro.
Bronchidrosis, hyperhidrosis, and she kept hyperventilating. I wanted to stop the service, but she was a model for my esthetician training. Should have gotten one of the cosmetology students instead.
It's not about the horror stories. It's about the horror smells.
While in aesthetics school during Brazilian training, I was a model for 2 girls. One of the girls spreads my butt cheeks apart to the point my skin was hurting to evaluate the situation, and she commented on how nice my butthole was. We'll say it was extremely awkward and interesting sitting there on all fours while they wax me lol. Just for reference, typically when waxing you start from the back coming forward, or at least that's how we were taught.
I do not wax, but I work at a waxing salon. Worst thing I've ever heard was that a woman had gotten her lips stuck together cause the waxer got wax on them and it took days to come off. Personally, one time a waxer stopped and looked right at my coochie and squinted before parting my lips with her fingers. Didn't tell me anything either, like girl, what did you see?
Stick a NSFW tag on it or you'll get nothing juicy, mate.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to Upvote for the best quality content every day.